Welcome to the Gorong Vlogger ng Kuwait, the charity channel of Philippine International English School. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to click the notification bell for you to be updated if there are new videos. God bless and always keep safe. Now let us get some background information. So when President Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law, he was interviewed by Amnesty International and said that around 50,000 people had been detained since the declaration of martial law. Amnesty International was allowed by the Philippine government to interview the detainees and found out that of the 107 people that were interviewed, 70% were tortured. Now, none of the prisoners that they interviewed had been convicted of a crime. Imelda Marcos is responsible for the housing project and house complex of where the safe house is located. Though she is seen as a luxurious person, which could be the possible reason for the housing project to take place in the genteel middle class. Now, let us talk about the characters of the story. So first we have, of course, is the little girl, who is the innocent protagonist of our story. The second character in our story would be the brother of this little girl, who is approximately the same age as her. The next would be the mother and the father. Well, the mother was the person that catered to the rebels, but it was really unclear on why the mother left. The next would be, of course, her father, but was arrested later on for arms trafficking. Next would be the relatives, quote unquote. The relatives are not actually the relatives, but really the rebels or the activists of the martial law. And last but not the least is, of course, the grandparents that took care of the siblings and shared a story about the lovebirds. So now, let us dive deeper about the summary of the story. The story shows the perspective of a 5-year-old girl in the time of martial law in the Philippines. The setting initially was in the housing complex that was made by First Lady Imelda Marcos. Many of the houses were the same, but as the story said, those who need to come here know what to look for. The swinging gate, the twisting butterfly tree, the cyclone wire fence, a curtain window with the yellow light of a lamp perpetually left on. End quote. It became clear in the story that these so-called visitors in the story were not relatives at all, but rather activists or rebels that came to their aid, which implied that the girl's home was a safe house for those who opposed the Marcos regime. As the story progresses, it is clear to see the hatred that these visitors or relatives have for President Marcos. As the visitors crowd together to watch the television, they are enraged when seeing President Marcos as they rant and utter curses on the TV. Still, the little girl does not understand any of it and trusts what the visitors say, as they say it is an important manner. She wakes up hearing one of her uncles rumbling to each other. And as the book says, if she closes her eyes and listens carefully, she hears the words sundalo, kasama, talahim, and the last word she clearly hears is katawan. As more visitors gather in their home, throwing birthday parties and other events, the girl witnesses the adults playing make-believe and a laughing game, while thinking her mother is bad at these games as she cries instead of laughs. The little girl hears the words underground, revolution, taxes, and bills from her mother that made absolutely no sense to her. In a series of very unfortunate events, The mother leaves and never comes back for no apparent reason. The story mentions a small red book that her father brought home from China. After a while, the father gets arrested for arms trafficking, and the little girl moves in with her grandparents. There, her grandparents mentioned a lovebird story that shows the soldiers' motives at their time. The little girl would go to her father's new home, which was a jail cell, sleeping on the weekends. The girl starts to have bad dreams about her home and sees it as a dangerous place. To make things better, she paints it in pink, blue, and yellow, really vibrant colors. Soon after, when she comes of age, she is still living in the same safe house, with its new door, and a familiar stranger will come knocking looking for her now gone father. She knows the stranger needs help, but she will still decide to close the door. And as the book says, push the bolts firmly into place. End quote. The safe house was actually not safe. Years passed, and the house has been catering to defectors, relatives, I guess to say, that were not actual relatives. Now she knows better. Though she knows she could help, she chose to close her doors so that what happened before will not repeat itself, protecting the safe house.